So there are basically two routes you can go when looking at clip-on mics. You can go wireless or you can go wired. Some can only be wireless like this NUX B6, and some can be either wired or wireless like this Sennheiser E908B. If you want to check out these mics specifically, I'll leave a link to them in the description. But I just recently purchased this NUX mic and I thought I would kind of share my experience with both of them so far, explain the differences, and hopefully it'll help you decide what you need. So the NUX is super easy to use and very convenient. All you have to do is attach the mic to the transmitter, turn both the transmitter and receiver on, and then plug the receiver into the board and you're good to go. There's a light on both the transmitter and receiver so you can tell if they're paired. Flashing red means they're not paired and green means they're paired. And so far in using this, the pairing process happens almost instantly. Now, like I said, this Sennheiser can be either run wired or wirelessly, but if you want to run it wirelessly, you have to buy a body pack, transmitter, and a receiver separately. So you'd put the mic on your instrument, plug it into the transmitter, which you keep somewhere on either your body or your horn. Then the transmitter connects wirelessly to the receiver, which you plug into the board. Now, these receivers typically have hundreds or even thousands of frequencies that they can operate on, and they use an entirely different bandwidth than most other electronic devices, so there isn't really any worry about interference. But the NUX actually operates on 2.4 gigahertz, which is a pretty common frequency for like Wi-Fi devices, like phones and stuff. So you can run the risk of interference, but I've never had any issues so far. And it seems like most people online said there's only interference problems if someone is like within a foot of the microphone, like surfing the internet or something. But on the last gig I used this on, there were people using wireless mics and people on their phone in the audience and a laptop right next to the board, and I didn't have any problems. Now, what if you don't want to worry about batteries and you just want to run the Sennheiser wired? The way you do that is by running it through this little preamp. This comes with the mic if you get the one that's not designed for use with a transmitter, so it is a little more expensive. But you plug the microphone into one end of the preamp and then plug an XLR into the other end and then send that XLR to the board. Also, the preamp does have a clip, so you can clip it to your belt or something. Now, the NUX is entirely self-contained, so this pack actually charges both the transmitter and the receiver. It's charged via what feels kind of like MagSafe, like if you have AirPods and like the feeling of them like clicking in magnetically. That's what it feels like when you're charging these. There are also USB-C ports on the side of both the transmitter and the receiver, so you can plug them in that way also. One big downside to having the batteries internal on the NUX is that you can't charge and use them at the same time. So if you run out of battery, you're kind of out of luck until it charges back up. The transmitter and receiver have up to 7 hours of continuous use on one battery charge. I haven't verified that, but I played like a 3 or 4 hour gig and didn't have any troubles with it shutting off at the end of the night, so that's good. Now, the case is rechargeable via USB-C also and can hold up to an extra 15 hours of battery life. So ideally you could charge the transmitter and receiver twice before needing to charge the case again. And you can see the battery status of the case by pressing the button on the side. Now, the NUX does have an auto off feature that will turn the mic off after about 10 minutes of not receiving signal. But the problem is, in most instances, the mic is going to be picking up some amount of ambient noise whether you're playing or not, so it doesn't seem to really shut off. There have been rumors that they'll fix that in the next version. Now, the Sennheiser transmitter just takes 2 AA batteries, so you can obviously just replace those if they die, or keep a bunch extra on hand, or keep some rechargeable ones, and then the receiver can just plug into a wall. Now, right off the bat, one of the things I noticed with playing with a clip-on mic is that you get some amount of key noise. Just by the nature of the mic being a lot closer to the body of the saxophone, it's going to pick up some of the noise of you pressing the keys down. Usually you can adjust the EQ of the mic on the actual soundboard that you run into, so it doesn't really end up being a problem. And also the NUX actually has an EQ button on the side. It has like 3 preset EQ modes. So red is supposed to be for soprano, yellow is supposed to be for tenor, and green is supposed to be for alto. It definitely changes the sound slightly, mostly like the brightness, but it doesn't seem to massively affect the key noise, so you'd probably end up having to EQ some stuff on the board anyways. So the clip on the NUX is a little unique. You kind of push these 2 tabs in on the side and then the clip pops up and you just clip that to your bell. It feels pretty firm to push in, but I think just because of the weight of the transmitter, there's like some wobble. It definitely wouldn't fall off, but it does seem to move more than the Sennheiser. The Sennheiser has a more standard clip and feels a little more sturdy, but it's also a lighter unit. Both the NUX and the Sennheiser have what they call a gooseneck, so the microphone can can kind of be bent to basically whatever angle you want. But the Sennheiser actually goes one step further and has the ability to kind of like pivot. The case for the Sennheiser is basically a zip up lightly padded pouch, whereas the case for the NUX is kind of this block because obviously it contains all the charging stuff, but it's really small. Like, I was pretty shocked. It's not much bigger than my hand and I can fit it in my backpack without any problems. It also feels like a pretty sturdy case, and on the inside, on the top part, there's like a little place that you could put anything extra that you need. So how do the mics sound? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Here are a few clips of me playing both the Sennheiser and the NUX. To my ears, the Sennheiser sounds a lot clearer and full. I also feel like there's less key noise, but also in these recordings, I'm playing in a pretty dead room, and most of the time people are going to be using these in a live setting, so you're not going to notice those small nuances as much. Now, the NUX is priced at $199 right now, and that feels pretty hard to beat, especially if you're set on running completely wireless. Now, this Sennheiser is $300 if you get the mic with the preamp, but like I said, if you want to run completely wireless, you'll need a body pack transmitter and a receiver, so you're probably looking at close to $800 or $900. You could also buy a different transmitter and receiver and then buy the mic without the preamp, or buy a different clip-on mic altogether. The nice thing about going that route is if you want to upgrade the mic or change the mic, you can obviously just switch out the mic and keep the transmitter and receiver. There's one minor inconvenience that I wanted to mention about clip-on mics in general, and that is I can't set my saxophone down on my stand without moving the mic. That probably sounds insane, but it is kind of annoying to like go to set my horn down and then realize my clip-on mic's in the way, and maybe I almost damaged the mic because I rammed it into my stand. So I always have to just move the mic to the top part of the bell and then set it down. It's kind of a minor inconvenience, but if you forget about it, the horn doesn't sit on the stand very well. It's kind of wobbly, so it could fall off. So I'm kind of undecided if I definitely want to run completely wireless. I'm not often going out into the crowd, but on the right gig, it can be really fun without worrying about tripping over cables and, you know, messing up the sound guy's wiring. So for those situations, it could be nice, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying to have to make sure I charged it and make sure everything's charged and worry about the batteries. I just like hate having one more thing to think about when I'm going to gigs. Wired seems to be less worrisome from the standpoint of like making sure that everything's going to work. But if you really want to be completely wireless on a gig, I feel like the NUX is the best bang for buck. It's also so convenient having everything in one little pack, and it's also easy to just streamline the whole setup process. I've had a bunch of people ask me about clip-on mics lately, and I've kind of just started getting into that world, so I thought I would share the limited amount of knowledge I have and hopefully help some of you out. These are basically the only two clip-on mics that I've had experience with, and this one is actually Jacob Pleakis's, so thank you for letting me borrow it. Let me know what clip-on mics you guys prefer in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.